What's up, everybody? It's Cringe Lord here, and in this video, we will go over the first ever sponsor balance changes coming in at Season 1 launch, highlighted in Dev Q&A number 2. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you want to watch me play some Spectre, please head over to twitch.tv/cringelord. The link will be in the description. Right, let's get into it. Um, as somebody who has a lot of time in Spectre, everything so far has been really playable, but there have been certain outliers that were very oppressive or kind of underwhelming, and this patch aims to address that. Starting with the nerfs, Riker Industries will be getting a price increase for hull mines and arc sentries. Hull mines are now 50 credits more expensive each, and arc sentry will be 100 credits more expensive. This is a nice change. As of now, Riker is an S tier intel pick. Very impressive. Use hull mines to clear angles. This would make Riker have to balance their economy a bit more, and this is gonna make them pick and choose between certain parts of their kit when their eco is tight. I definitely feel like this is a nice change. It's gonna make sure Riker can't buy full kit pretty much every round, and will tune down Riker's power level a tiny bit. They have to say over the last few months, Riker proved itself as a premier peak for intel gathering and controlling space. Definitely something I agree with. Rikers are very annoying because you can throw the darts behind the walls and you have to have defenders or attackers go out of their way to break it. We are taking a way to lock down the site with utility, but we are making it that a more costly strategy, which should put some pressure on Riker's weapon and armor power if they want to fully lean into the controller role every round. Very nice change. Definitely something we've wanted. We'll have to see how this plays out, but expect Riker to drop down in power rate, especially with the Umbra buffs. Morgan gets a slap on the wrist trap increase from 200 to 300. This messes up some pistol buy strategies. But overall, this is a minor change, just making it a little bit more expensive to spam traps every round. No changes to the smoke shifts, no changes to the smoke and their properties itself, being a fast recall zone, so this is nice. Morgan is and will be one of the more fun classes to play. And the last buff, and I feel like the most important, is Pinnacle. Pinnacle will get a Splinter Grenade charge removed, so you will now only have one grenade at a time. Instead, your grenades now recharge 30 seconds faster from 75 to 45 seconds. This change is addressed mostly at Pinnacle spamming down a choke with utility, which has been a really, really, really easy and effective strategy. It has been super pressuring to the team trying to pass the choke. We want to maintain Pinnacle's ability to throw several grenades around, but we specifically wanted to reduce the grenade spam and grenade chaos. We hope players will be more intentional about the locations that you want to clear, while still feeling like Pinnacle is a strong entry fire option. This is just generally what this change intends to make. Pinnacle is now no longer this mega oppressive machine with infinite grenades, infinite flashes that can just run up to you and stall you for 30 seconds. It's a very welcome change, and it's going to make flashes way more competitive. As of now, Pinnacle has been pretty much the dominant option. But Mew Dispatch, well, there's certainly something about Mew Dispatch that I'll get into later. Um, Starting with the buffs. Umbra is being turned into a demon. Its base kit, recon wing radius, is getting increased from 7 to 8.5. This will make the sphere substantially bigger, and is going to make it easier to clear certain stuff on the map. And base kit glare burst width is increased from 4 to 5 meters. Right now, Umbra sits in a position where it's either a B tier pick at best if you don't know how to play it, and an S tier pick if you do know how to play it. Pulse Finder is one of the hardest abilities in the game to correctly utilize, and this should give newer players or players who want to learn Umbra some easier times with the utility. But I'm not so sure it's gonna help everybody unleash like the full power of Umbra as a kit. we'll definitely have to see how this plays out. Umbra was our weakest launch sponsor. Absolutely correct. It took some time for players to really learn the ability. Hardest sponsor to play due to the complexity of Pulse Finder's enhanced abilities. I still do think Pulse Finder enhanced stuff should be able to cast from the main body without having a Spectre, because the moment you lose your body, you kind of lose half of your kit. But this should help compensate for that. Ghostlink gets a small buff to deep cost. It's now 250 decreased to 200. Partition getting a significant 2-second increase to wall duration. Remind you that Partition is a free wall and you get 2 charges each round at 45-second cooldown. This would help Ghostlink just be a better smoke class agent. I do feel like we should have some wall type smokes, and this balance change will help us on play Ghostlink more effectively on his core maps, which are Metro, Commons, potentially Canal. Um, I'd still say, even with the changes, Ghostlink is still a bit of a B tier because his util is a tiny bit limiting. Deep passive is nice. Deep cost being reduced is a nice change, but I do still think this is a very situational sponsor. It'd be definitely fun to play. Ghostlink Dupe is an exciting ability that's core to the identity of the sponsor. Players have been becoming more familiar with the game, and particularly spotting dupes. The price is to nudge down to align with the current power level. I agree with this. I feel like there is a possibility to nerf dupe even more, but definitely in the future, because right now with newer players it's still very, very impressive. Um, we're also giving Partition a longer duration to ensure it's a strong pick for vision denial and to help Ghostling better compete with Morgan for the smoker role. What I would like to see, potentially, if we are going to have a proper like wall smoke, as going to compete for a solid A tier spot, definitely give Ghostlink a longer wall. Maybe we'll see that actually in the future balance changes, but for now, these changes are gonna get Ghostlink a bit more viable, and is gonna make him a very, very strong option in his core maps. Right. Getting into the more exciting stuff, Mew Robotics is getting a full overhaul. The bubble is becoming a tank, practically doubling its HP from 150 to 300. Dazzler is getting a slight rework, being turned into more of a true flash rather than a distortion effect. But you can now actually turn away from this. Mew have been a B tier flasher from the very release of the game. It's been a community loved class, but it hasn't really felt well to play, especially with the nature of the class being able to spam flashes, and that's kind of it. This change will definitely bump Mew's viability across the board. Hyperdome is now actually a viable pistol for viable piece of utility outside of pistol rounds. Side diving will probably be more viable now as well because you have more cover. Um, Health increase from 150 to 300. It's still not as like super tanky as you can expect it to be, but dropping double bubble will give you around 2 to 3 seconds of lift time, even when the enemies do decide to spam the bubbles. So yeah, this is a very welcome change and will make Mew a way more competitive flasher. Dazzler being a true flash is nice. Being turned away from it is definitely nice because right now high level Mew players will make your life miserable. This will make your life less miserable, but good Mew players will still throw flashes that you won't be able to turn away from. We'll have to see how this will work, how the effect will look. But I do feel like this is a nice overhaul, bringing Mew more in line with Pinnacle as a competitive flasher, and being the preference on some maps because the Flash is still pretty good. The Flash still won't blind teammates. Uh, is going to be one of the probably better brawl classes for specific scenarios. Personally, I would like to have a bit more Flash range, but that's a lot to ask because Flash has been performing really well, and we'll have to see how Mew will do in the upcoming season 1 meta, especially with Canal being a very open map, partially. Uh, it might become an S tier, but for now, I feel like this is just a strong A tier pick to learn and play. Vector dynamics, dual amplifier rate buff increase from 15 to 20. This is a small nudge to make him feel better, and the wall is just getting a little bit bigger. Um, Minor changes. Wouldn't say this is anything too great. It's except the dual amp. This might be huge. Definitely will make Vector a nice solo pick, but his team utility still is and will be lacking on some maps. Definitely expect to see more of Vector dynamics on Mill just because he has a lot of clear there. But on other maps, we'll have to see. Uh, if we're talking about the tier list of where Agent stands, this is how it plays them right now, with Pinnacle and Riker being the S tier picks, both Smokes standing solidly in A tier. Mew, Ghostling, and Umbra are just feeling a little bit underwhelming, so they're sitting in B tier. Despite me absolutely loving Mew, I can't really place it any higher now. And Vector is just a C tier. Nice to play solo, but definitely not enough team utility. After the update, though, I would say Riker is gonna be the dominant intel force. The price nerfs are pretty good, but it won't be enough to drop him into A tier just yet. Vector Dynamics will still sit in C tier. It spawns a kid that's very much based on how individually good you are, and will not make itself good just by the wall buff. You still have to play the game well to make full potential out of the walls and the kit of this class. So for now, I'll be keeping it in C tier. Ghostling gets a nudge into low A tier from high B tier, especially on core maps. This sponsor is now going to be more playable, more oppressive with the walls. I do feel like it's going to be a more competitive type of smoker, competing for that wall smoke option. Bloom stays in A tier. This sponsor has not gotten any changes and is still a nice fighter reset class with 2 paid smokes. Morgan sits nicely among the A tier as well. Not too good, not too bad. Very fun class to play. Can be pretty good when you're smoke shifting, but the enemies will read it. Mew Flash, I would say it's low S tier as of now, but I'm gonna be placing it in A tier because I don't really have any playtime with the bubble. Pinnacle definitely falls from S tier into A tier. It's still gonna be a nice flash option, especially when you have specific lineups. But nade spam is not gonna be a strategy that is nearly as annoying. And Umbra will keep its spot in B tier just because it's a very, very hard class for everybody to learn and play. But it can definitely be an S tier class right there with Riker on how annoying it is when you actually have a solid Umbra. This is pretty much it for the video. If you guys think this tier list should be different, please let me know in the comments. This is solely based on my opinion and my playtime versus solid players at the game. I do feel like this balance patch has been very, very good at bringing everyone in line and as a very, very balanced class. Everything now feels generally pretty same level, except probably Riker and Umbra as Intel. We'll definitely see how those play out, and uh, very high for season 1 launch. As I said, if you guys have your opinions, please make sure to drop them in the comments. Hop by the streams. Thanks everybody for watching, and see you guys in the next one.